see the big picture, courage wells up within us. Right now, we know that there are many Americans, former soldiers, who are now going over to Iraq and Syria, volunteering to fight side by side with the Kurds in the Iraqi army. We kind of say to ourselves, where are these soldiers getting the courage to go back to war and fight ISIS and these other terroristic groups? Where are they getting it? Well, if you talk to these soldiers will say the courage that they're getting comes because they see the big picture. They see that if ISIS and these terror groups aren't stopped right here, right now, they're just going to keep getting bigger, and eventually they're going to come here on our shores. When you see the big picture, courage wells up. The story is told of a young college freshman. She was taking a philosophy class. And after about the second week of philosophy class, she realized that the professor was an atheist. In fact, at one point in one of his lectures, he just came right out and said that he was an atheist. He did not believe in God. Now, it kind of bothered this young freshman because she was a Christian gal, and of course she believed in God. And as she listened to this guy give his lectures, it just seemed like week after week, whenever he had a chance to slam religion, whenever he had a chance to put down God, this philosophy professor would. And then one day, during one of his lectures, the professor said, you know, anyone is a fool who believes in God. And then the professor, to make his point, said, how many of you, if you believe in God, think that if I walked over to the chalkboard and picked up a piece of chalk and dropped it, that your God could keep that chalk from breaking into pieces? Well, that young college female freshman had had enough. And she raised her hand and she stood up in her lecture seat and she said, Professor, I believe in God. And I believe that if God wanted, God could keep a piece of chalk, if you dropped it, from breaking into tiny pieces when it hit the ground. Feeling rather cocky, the professor said, well, really, let's give it a try. And so he walked over to the chalkboard, picked up a piece of chalk, and just as he was lifting the chalk up to drop, it slipped out of his hand, rolled down his shirt, rolled down his arm, rolled down his pant leg, down his shoe, and onto the floor without breaking. That young college freshman had a huge smile on her face. She didn't say a word. She just sat down. And the professor turned and walked out of the lecture hall. When you see the big picture, as that little freshman gal did, that there is a God, and God can do marvelous things, amen?
Amen.
When you see the big picture, it gives you courage, as she found the courage to stand and challenge her professor. Courage comes when you see the big picture. It comes when we call upon God. It comes when we make the decision to be courageous. Jesus did that when he got on a donkey and rode into the city. And we can do the same when we face crosses, when we face Jerusalems in life. Let's bow for prayer. God, help us to see that we don't have to choose the way of the coward. When adversity comes, when fear comes knocking on our door, help us to see that if we call upon you and make the decision to be courageous and try and open our eyes to the big picture, that courage will come and you'll be there and we'll make it just as your son did. so long ago. This is our prayer. We ask it in His name.